Hey everyone, it's Ari Honeyford with the Awkwardly Zen podcast, and I am so excited to have my dear friend and also Awkwardly Zen partner, Stephanie Gray here. Stephanie, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. You and I have done so many different things together, workshops and podcasts and all sorts of different stuff. So I am excited to have you on today. Welcome.
Well, thank you. I'm really excited to be here. I love our chats.
Me too, me too. Stephanie and I also both have gone live before on our Instagrams. What's your Instagram, Stephanie?
Creating from the inside out.
Created from the inside out, and we'll put all of that in the write up. And I'm at Ari Honeyford. But we've even gone live and talked about being spiritual with chronic illnesses because both of us deal with a variety of lovely, lovely opportunities in this lifetime. So I love that about our connection that we have someone we can talk to, celebrate with, commiserate with, whatever that is. So, Stephanie, I would love, first of all, for you to tell everyone a little bit about what you do. What's your modality? What's your passion? I think people will be shocked to find out it has something to do with art.
Yeah. Um, well, believe it or not, yeah. I am an intuitive artist and also a creative transformation guide, which basically means I just use the creative process and creative tools to help folks sort of navigate transformation. And it's amazing. Like there's we're all creator beings, right? And to be able to tap into that in whatever ways I feel like is just super necessary right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I've done quite a few different things with you. One of my favorites is when you do your prayer card classes. And it's not about being an artist, everybody, at all.
Mm-mm.
It's about allowing emotions and feelings and things to come through you. And then through the pen or the paint or the water or whatever it is. Can you talk a little bit about that process? About it doesn't necessarily have to be the prayer cards, but as somebody is working with you in a variety of things you offer, what kind of things can they expect?
So initially I always start off with just sort of tapping into what's going on in your body. You don't even have to name what it is. You can just feel the sensation and then working with sort of moving that out with color and movement. But, there's a variety of things that can happen because I am so passionate about the creative process and the fact that we're all creative. Like we could literally have a one-on-one together and you can be creating like in a coloring book if you wanted to.
Yeah,
Because really it's about tapping into that creative spark, but also just that sort of childlike wonder too. And then if you're going through something, it can be something else. It can be, okay, I'm going through grief right now and I need to really just tap into that and feel it and do some releasing and some transmutation around that. And, that would be similar things. It just depends on how you show up, but it's so much easier than people think. Like
absolutely.
you say the word creative and people automatically think art. I have to
Right.
be an artist, but you don't. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And even like I would consider myself an artist. And even for me, it wasn't about making something pretty, right? It was
Right.
about letting things flow, letting things come out. So I think it is such an amazing tool and so important. And so I'm so grateful that one, you're a partner with Awkwardly Zen and can offer that to all of our members, but also just to the world as a whole, because people can do this in person with you, but they also can do it online, right?
Absolutely. Either or both. Like I have a myriad of ways, and I'm excited about that too because I think as we continue this transformation that is happening on the planet, that the more we can be in that creative space and be more in the heart and in that flow space, the
Right.
more we can help create the new. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I love you said create there, which has me thinking about your other venture, and you have a friend that you guys have done some stuff. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So Oh my gosh. Backstory, I have been doing something called process art for the last almost 30 years, and that is what has informed my practice now, and that is just creating from the inside out, like you were talking about. So about 13 years ago, my friend Jenny and I, who's also an artist and a process painter, decided to form Creative Nectar Studio. And flash forward to today, I mean, we did have a brick and mortar, and now we're mostly online, but we do stuff in person. We do stuff individually, but we also started a podcast and we have an online community. So it's just like, it's really blossoming and it's beautiful to be part of it and to witness it.
Yeah, and I will say, you guys, if you are not following Stephanie and Creative Nectar on social media, you want to, okay? Because the videos are so beautiful. First of all, the
Mm.
art that Stephanie creates. I should have gotten it out. I have a gorgeous painting that Stephanie did in my space. I work with the elements, and there's a lot of elemental energy in it, and to be able to see what you create, you personally, is so astounding. Like, it's just so beautiful. You do a lot of interstellar art and a lot of connecting to nature, and so that's one thing. But also, your insight is just so grounded and pure and authentic. And so, what has that been like to work on being authentically you in such a public forum as like Instagram?
That's a really good question.
I hear you.
Um, yeah, and it's been a process. I looked back the other day. I think I've been on for almost 10 years. So it's really evolved, and it's a process like everything else. And I have to give props back to being in the creative flow and doing process art to really uncover my authentic self. And working with my guides and stuff through art, I mean, definitely keeps me grounded. And honestly, it's just a moment to moment thing.
Yeah.
I don't really post unless I'm feeling led to post, which is Instagram would like you to post, I think, every other day, if at the very most, or at the very least. And I just don't do that. Sometimes it's like twice a day, and sometimes it's like, 2 weeks later.
Right.
But yeah, but I feel into that, and it's just I just love connecting with people
Yeah.
in the ways that I can as an introvert. It's just weird.
Well, and you know what I love, when we look at the volunteers, because Stephanie is a volunteer for Awkwardly Zen, she does moderating for events and steps up so much for us, and thank you for that.
Absolutely.
But when I look at the folks that we have who volunteer with us who are introverts, I'm always so astounded at how brave you all are, because for me, I'm an extrovert. I have no problem. You put me in front of anyone, I'm like, let's talk. But for some of you, it's really tough. So, as you've stepped into the light a little bit more, as you stepped into using your voice to try to help and to create more light in the world, as an introvert, what are some things that you do to kind of help with that, to kind of help our introvert friends who are thinking about this out there?
Yeah, another good question. I love talking to folks. I What happens is when I'm in a group of people, I can it the energy can just sort of suck out of me, like flow out of me. And so I just need time alone to recharge. And I think just basically knowing about introverts, that's the big difference. Like, I think there's a misnomer out there that introverts don't like people. As for me, I love people. It's just that I only have a certain amount of energy that I can be with folks before I have to come back into my little shell and recharge. So what's best for me is knowing that, and knowing, okay, I'll probably need recharging after this event or after I go live or whatever, and then I recharge, I give myself some self-care, and then I'm back at it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's all just about really knowing yourself and what you can and can't do.
Yeah, and I love that about you. One of the things that I'm always so impressed about is you are very good at setting those boundaries, right? Of saying, "Hey, I want to do this with you, but this is my schedule and I can't do this or this or this." And I think that's something that I am learning, right? As an extrovert, I'm like, yeah, 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 yeah. But as someone with chronic illness and somebody who's going through stuff, I can't do what I used to do, or it's harder for me to. And so I really have looked to you as inspiration for that of like, okay, hold on, let me scoop out some time for myself so that I know I have time to rest, to heal, to be my best.
Yeah, well, thank you. And it really is, and I'll say that chronic illness definitely helps with those boundaries. Because you get to a point where if you're like, if I can't do this. If I said yes, I would be down for a month. And so as the boundaries are learned, it just becomes easier and easier. And I think it is a way to model for folks. Like, because you know me, after about 8 o'clock, I cannot function. So I can't do like the later night things, but I'm great at 5, 6 in the morning.
Right.
And just to say that, and I used to be so ashamed of that. I used to have so much shame about not being like everyone else. Well, honestly, none of us are like everyone else. We're all unique in our own ways, right? And to
Right.
celebrate that and not try to just fit into a mold that it doesn't fit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting. You and I have a mutual friend, Valerie, and Valerie is usually a night owl, right? And I am up like this morning I was working at 5:15 because that's a great time for me. Everything's quiet, no one's bugging me, like let me just get things done. But I always have to consistently remind myself like hold on, it's early in the morning, don't text people. Like don't do this because we are all different, right? And I want to hold that space for everyone to be comfortable where they are, but it comes into that whole idea of societal norms, and I feel like that's shifting pretty drastically. Like, I feel like this idea of normal with our fashion, with our way we work, with what's expected of us is just drastically changing. And we talk about that a lot. So, energy shift. Stephanie runs normally, her and Tim run the paradigm shift group that we have once a month. This month, I will be in June. That'll be I don't even need to say that, you guys. This will be out after that. So in July, Stephanie, you'll be running the Paradigm Shift group. What day is that? The third
It's
Saturday
the
of the
third
month.
Saturday.
Yeah. And that is all about shifting mindsets, right? All about seeing something in a different way. All about you tell me what does the paradigm shift group mean to you, and like why do you love being a host of that so much?
I Co-hosting with Tim has been awesome, and it's basically it started actually in a coffee shop. I started a meetup a long time ago because I was feeling so many shifts internally, externally, and I really felt alone. Like I felt like I just had to be able to talk to people about it, and I didn't know what to do. I went on Meetup, there was nothing there. So I just heard guidance, create it, find the others, and I did, and people showed up for like a year and a half at this coffee shop, and we basically shared the shifting that was happening in our lives. And that could mean, I'm going through a divorce, my wife just died. Um, Fast forward to today when we're doing this for Awkwardly Zen, it's all of that, but more because globally everything is shifting. I
Yeah.
just got goosebumps. I mean, everything is shifting. All the societal structures and everything. So each time we show up there monthly, there's just more to talk about because
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's a lot. And it's nice
Well,
to have supports.
yeah, absolutely. And I know you also participate pretty heavily in the Interstellar Forum. Speaking of shifting energy and that, both Stephanie and I talk pretty regularly about the idea of interstellars, the way that there's communications coming in, and there's so many people who are starting to come forward and talk about this. And when we first started talking about it, we were all pretty hush hush, right? It was like
Yeah.
you don't want to talk about aliens. And now it's so much more open, and I find myself talking about it very openly out with people. Now I still get side looks every once in a while, which always makes me laugh. Like we are a tiny little speck in this huge giant universe. To me, of course there's something else out there. But as you have explored that, and I know a lot of your art explores it, and you are working with it, How has that really shifted you with that kind of connection to this interstellar energy that's coming in?
Well, first of all, I have to say, side note, moderating that forum is one of the highlights of my month. I love it. I come alive because I've always been interested in that topic, but within the last, well, I'm going to say maybe 3 years, it's really done an uptick. And I think working with art had dropped me into the heart enough to get sort of my brain out of the way for the interstellars to come through in a soft way that didn't like freak me out initially. And creativity is so good for that. So another thing, creativity.
Yeah,
And they're the ones that have been like saying creativity is so important. It's so important. And I just, my insights are I don't know. It's like that might be a whole different conversation because so much has expanded,
right.
including my heart, my spirituality. I feel like has just blown open, and yeah, I mean, it's for real.
Yeah, and I think that's just it. And the reason I want to talk about it more openly out in public is because I think there's a lot of people experiencing things who are nervous, right? Because again, societally, it's been frowned upon. People have been told they're crazy. There's all these movies out there that have brought up all this fear. And it does feel like we have this beautiful opportunity right now to start the conversation of what if it's not scary? What if it's a beautiful thing? What if there's already interstellar energy here? What if there's already these things? And I say all these what ifs. Now I have very clear beliefs on if those things are happening or not, but I encourage everybody out there to go to the what if, and really start allowing some of these thoughts to come in and see what happens.
Absolutely, just to get curious about it. Like you said, what okay, what if? In fact, the very first time Interstellar showed up in a painting of mine was, oh my gosh, 25 years ago, doing a process painting and a what looks like a gray alien with beautiful big blue eyes showed up, and then the words "what if" were
Ah,
next to it.
that gave me chills. I
Of course,
love
I
that.
shut that down for like 10 years, but
Totally. Well, and I think that's it too, right? Like when you talked about shame earlier, um, it's so fascinating because when I think back at least, and I know you and I've had these conversations before of the things we shut down, right? The gifts we shut down, the messages we shut down, the things that we just were not quite ready for yet. I find day in and day out people who have this shame about like, I used to have this, but I don't have it anymore. And for me at least, I'm always like, well, that's all right. You can bring it back. It's you don't need to panic about that. But I think with the process that you do with your art, like that is such a beautiful way to bring it back, to allow it to come in because that creativity, it's coming out in a very safe way, right? Like we're not asking you to sit down and have tea with an alien. We're asking you to like just allow this message maybe to come through. I think that's beautiful.
yeah, and also when I add, because I add frequency to it too, like listening to certain frequencies in
Yeah.
music while creating, and all of that stuff that helps with that as well. So yeah, it is a very gentle process, and you get what you need in the moment. It's different every time, and I mean, it's just perfect for you in the moment. You never
Yeah.
get more than you can handle.
Absolutely, and the joy is that you can say, "No, I'm not ready for that," right? I think
Absolutely.
I had an Instagram video just about that, where the first time I felt interstellar energy, I was like, "Nope.
Yep.
No, thank you." And now I feel totally different about it, right? So, it's so interesting to me to see how those changes and those shifts happen. Now in that interstellar group, which I want to tell everyone is the second Monday of the month,
Mhm.
on any of the Awkwardly Zen locations. So in that interstellar group, about how many people do you see come in there?
Oh my gosh, it's really growing. The other day we had 31 people, and I that's a pretty big group, and it's a lot of folks are returning. I mean, there's always new people,
Yeah.
but a lot of people come back, and you just there's just such a beautiful community that's formed there. And I can't believe it's been almost It's been over 2 years now.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. It's crazy, and I think it's beautiful because, it's run like an open forum, but in all Awkwardly Zen events, we have moderators to make sure that people feel safe and that if anyone is not being, kind or loving, that we take care of that. As a moderator for Awkwardly Zen, which is not it's not something we take lightly, right? There's a training and there's making sure and we have all of these things. What's your favorite thing about being a moderator?
I think just hearing all the different perspectives
Thank you.
and hearing about other people's lives and their experiences, especially in the interstellar, and there is some crossover that happens with the paradigm shift too, but just the experiences that are happening right now for folks.
Yeah.
I just love it.
Yeah, and I love the crossover that happens, right? Where like one person will start sharing about it, and then someone else in the room will be like, "Oh my gosh, I thought that was only me," and you just see the relief that happens with all of this weird stuff that we're all going through. Finding like-minded individuals, I think, is just so powerful. It's one of my favorite things about Awkwardly Zen
Yeah.
as we've moved forward. All right, so you always have fun stuff coming up. So what does this summer look like for you? Do you have some classes that you're doing, some events? What's it look like?
Well, it looks a little different right now just because I'm actively doing a podcast with Jenny, like we talked about,
Yay.
and also doing the online community, and we meet once a month and do creative stuff. But also the one-on-one stuff, either if you're in Kansas City, coming to the studio or online. That's really what I'm feeling most excited about because I really want to bring frequency in more and more so folks can get a taste of that. And hopefully maybe, we can do something on AZ. Who
Sure.
knows? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, so watch for that, you guys. The best places to find Stephanie, what are they?
So my website, which is stephgrayart.com. And from there, I mean, you can get pretty much everywhere. Also my Instagram, which we mentioned before, creating from the inside out, and then of course, Creative Nectar Studios.
Yes. Okay. And we will definitely have all of those in the write up. I highly recommend that you guys check out Stephanie. You can also find her always on the awkwardlyzen.com partner page. So that's an easy way. And you guys can make sure that you check out the specials everyone offers on that page because it's so beautiful how many partners we have who really love to give back to the community. So I appreciate that. And Stephanie, I just want to say thank you again for all the time and love and passion you put into Awkwardly Zen because we certainly cannot do it without all of our amazing volunteers, and it is such a joy to have your light and your energy and your creativity in the group.
Oh, thank you. It's literally my pleasure. So, yes, thank you.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Well, we'll see you next time.